Cool, dude. So pretty much, let me hook you up. Yeah, that's probably solid. Okay. Cool. So pretty much the idea is like Pathfinder, find your path. Like how you got from point A to point B. I think everyone likes to glorify entrepreneurship, but I think that it's actually like a treacherous journey that no one really like talks about. And actually, I'm really stoked on your story because you started from the bottom. Now we're here. So the idea is basically just like, who is Jeff? Where did he start? How did he get involved? And how did he experience like success overall? Like the course of the journey, like born day one to like now we're here.
That's a, that's a lot.
I mean, whatever, just feel like you feel compelled to share, but that's basically the
That's
idea.
cool. I appreciate that. I just had a thought
Let's hear it.
and I lost it. It was about something you just said about entrepreneurship. And I think a lot of people they see a lot of people as entrepreneurs that
Right.
have achieved a level of success, not really understanding many times a lot of the failures it took
100%.
to get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, especially kind of like with the online world
Right.
as it exists today,
Right.
people are like very, very showy about like what they've accomplished and not really like very showy about the
Yeah.
struggles,
The journey,
the
dude. You gotta
hurdles,
freaking climb it.
the feeling of like living in a pressure cooker for
Yeah.
any amounts of time, or like the pressure of a burn rate on a business that your cash flow is not meeting, things
Right.
like that. So my story is
Yeah, let's
probably
hear that.
not really unique. Born and raised in Las Vegas,
Let's go.
and I went to Vegas High School. I graduated in 1992.
Let's go.
And I loved Vegas, and I loved partying.
That's what happens,
Yeah.
right, in Vegas.
That's what happens, you know what I mean?
Dude, and especially when you're from here, like it's normal. Like, you know what I mean? Like the bar's open all the
Yeah,
time.
I think it's like the allure of the strip and the lights, and like
Right.
I think for me personally, it was like there was so many things off limits, and when you have like when you have kind of a personality that goes against the grain or retaliatory,
Right.
and you're curious, like I think I was like overly anxious to experience some of those things in
Like,
Vegas
let me out,
that,
baby.
that were taboo. You know what I mean? I grew
Yeah.
up in a very Christian home, and like drinking and smoking and gambling and all those things were labeled as a sin, and so that made me more curious.
Yeah, like what's
You know
this
what I
all
mean? Like,
about?
what
man?
is this all about? Why could it? So I started exploring and experimenting
Right.
at a fairly early age with different things, and found myself in situations in my late teens and early 20s that weren't really cool. Like
Right.
my drug use had escalated to the point of being unemployable, and
Right.
there was times where I was homeless, and I chose after high school. I barely graduated high school. I chose after high school to kind of get involved in the financial services industry. Did that for a little bit of time, but really the power of my addiction just kind of like took over. And it was very confusing for me because I grew up with a dad who he actually co-authored some books with some well-known
Oh, no way.
motivational speakers at that time.
Right.
And I grew up with a dad that was not easy to talk to, but that told me like that I could overcome anything in life, and that
Yeah.
I could do and achieve anything I set out to do. And
So you were exposed to those like kind of self-development stuff like really early?
I was. My dad worked with a guy named Lou Tice.
I don't know. I'm a youngster.
I mean, this is a long time ago. Dennis Waitley and a few of these other guys at the time. So like I had a dad that was preaching to me that like you are your thoughts.
Right. Wow, that's crazy.
We move in the direction of our thoughts. We can, it's mind over matter, and like
That's wild.
the ideas of being a visionary and things like that. Only I was trying to channel all those things I had learned into like being a successful drug user and then drug dealer and
Oh,
then
wow.
drug manufacturer, and like I found myself at the age of 25. I became a felon.
Jeez.
I got involved with manufacturing methamphetamine.
At 25, that's a good time, a good age to fail though. At that, it's not like it was pretty early on.
I didn't really know I was failing. I thought I was on top of the world there for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it starts catching up with you.
Yeah.
So I bounced around from jobs to job. Back in the day, Vegas was kind of like,
It was for sure a lot smaller.
it was a lot smaller, and it was easier to get juiced into jobs. And like
Yeah.
my family was new people, and so like I didn't ever have a problem getting a job. I had a problem keeping a job.
Yeah.
And
Like, this isn't fun.
It's the truth. You know what I mean? What I've learned over the years is that the more open and transparent I am about my truth,
Yeah.
the more power it gives me
100%.
to succeed. And it's sometimes motivational and inspirational for, somebody that may be in a similar spot that I was in years ago.
100%.
So I became labeled as a felon, which, I went on a little bit of a pity party, and like I started to buy into this, the idea that because I was a felon, because I didn't really go to college, that there was a lot of limits put onto what I would be able to achieve in life.
Right.
And I really started reflecting after I got sober in 2006. I started reflecting and having a lot of memories about the things that I was taught by my father, and gravitated towards some mentors that really helped me to be able to apply some of those things into my daily routines. And my progression as an entrepreneur wasn't really quick.
Right.
So when I was first sober, I got a job as a limousine driver.
Yeah, but then you took over the transportation world, from what I hear.
I got a job as a limousine driver, and within about 6 months, I took some ideas on how I thought the owners of that company could grow and expand. And I didn't know it at the time, but they were kind of looking for somebody to assume a leadership role there.
There you go.
And the company was fairly small, probably about 50 employees.
50 or 15?
50.
That's a lot.
And they had 50 drivers, a fleet of like 30 cars.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
And I don't think anyone had ever gone to them and said, hey, like,
you could do this better, or
we could do something much better here. And it was at a time where people were moving from like print ads to more of an online and digital presence.
Mm-hmm. What year was this?
This was 2007.
Oh, okay.
The company was spending an outrageous amount of money on Yellow Page ads.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And I threw out some ideas, and some of them started working, and I just started hiring, and the volume grew, and we needed more cars. And after about 5 years in that role, they made me the general manager of the company after about 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And there was some people that had worked there for 15 years. They weren't exactly happy about that. Some of them might see this, but it is what it is.
Right.
I took the initiative to take my ideas.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's like anything, really.
You know what I mean? It's the same with me. That's why, like, I'm so open to people coming to me with their ideas and their visions.
Dude, 100%.
And I've learned over the years that, constricting people or trying to control people and trying to control the outcomes of everything and to control everything doesn't really bear the kind of fruit.
Yeah, when I've heard you say, like, you don't know what you don't know, and then, like, everyone has something that you don't know. Like, everyone's perspective is...
I feel like a lot of people in business feel like they have the answer.
Right.
And they're not really open-minded to listening to other people's perspective and ideas. And I'm kind of opposite of
Yeah, it's like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. You got a better idea? Let's try that.
You know what I mean?
That's how
Like,
I run
the
things.
worst mistake I could make is to think that I know it all.
Right.
You
That's
know?
like
And
the
so
terrible.
a lot of my success is not attributed to like actual things I did. It's attributed to empowering people.
Yeah.
Giving the people that I trust and are in my inner circle the opportunity to make decisions.
Right.
I think a lot of because I work in several different industries.
Right.
You know what I mean? I founded and I'm the CEO of the largest drug and alcohol treatment center in the state of Nevada.
Wow, that's fucking dope.
And yeah, we have a 400 bed program, medical detox, all levels of care, and my core leadership team there, they understand my philosophy and my vision for the kind of outcomes I want for the people we serve.
Right.
So I empower them to make decisions that
Right.
are going to get us to that.
And they see more of like the fibers and the fabrics of like being involved in that business, so they're gonna have a better perspective, right? Of like,
yeah, I give them a little bit of ownership.
Right.
You know what I mean? I give them some, not actual like legal ownership, but like ownership to like feel free to think and create
Right.
and be visionaries. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when you get a collective of people that come together with a similar mission, like we're way more powerful, right?
100%, dude.
I'm way more powerful.
Napoleon Hill, the mastermind effect.
So I'm involved in a couple nonprofits that I was I'm involved with some nonprofits that I founded.
Yeah.
That do some outreach services. Some of them provide treatment services. I'm very heavily involved with helping people that are entangled in the criminal justice system deal with mental health and substance use issues. Because that's my story.
So how did you get from, getting the limousine business booming to transitioning into that? What was like the next progression in your, I guess, life or career? Like, how did you get inspired to do that?
It's interesting. So I graduated from a county drug court program in 2007. I got my job as a limousine driver in 2006.
Okay.
I was actually made the general manager of the limousine company
while going through the program?
Several months before I graduated that treatment program, and I was still on probation with the state for those charges. I did a good job. I took my recovery seriously. It's something I still take seriously. It's something that I hold dear to my heart.
Right.
And I believe that everyone has their own path. You know what I mean? Some people can use recreationally, some people can't,
Right.
If people are struggling or if substances, whether it's alcohol, drugs, whatever, are getting in the way of people's obtaining,
whatever
it is they
just
want
well-being
in life. Like,
right?
I'm the guy, like, I want to help you. Like, I want to help you
right.
kind of understand that issue in your life and take charge of it. But so I get the promotion as the general manager. And I work really, really, really hard for 2 years. And I grow the company, probably grew the annual revenues of that company 300% over about 2 years.
Wow.
I grew it to a staff of about 300. So the owner of that company and I became very close.
Right.
And he had a lot of respect for my recovery, and I think he had some people in his life he knew that struggled, and he and I just became very close. And so as I had ideas for things I wanted to pursue, he was very supportive of that. So I founded the Freedom House, and then I go on. That was in 2010, and then in 2016 I acquired a building close to UMC here that we turned into what's known today as Crossroads of Southern Nevada, which is the largest treatment center of its type in Southern Nevada.
Nice.
Mostly dealing with homeless, addicted people. So I've really been passionate about building programs to help the people that were kind of like the most hopeless.
Right.
You know what I mean? The fast forward, I'm given a great opportunity within the limousine business to partake participate in the net earnings of the company, and it's really good for me. And I'm just having these like life-changing,
just like exponential growth
experiences because I started to do the right thing for the right reasons and to do right by people.
Right.
And I feel like it was when I had a shift in my thinking and my motivations changed and my agendas changed to like wanting to do what's right.
Right.
That doors started opening for me. And like, I think we could all agree that like nobody gets to where they get to alone.
Right.
Most people that I know of that have achieved any level of success were guided and mentored and inspired and assisted by maybe not one, but many people.
Right.
And so a guy named J.J. Bell was that guy in my life who started to really believe in me and support the things that I wanted to do. So
he was more like a just outside mentor outside of the businesses and everything, or?
No, he was the guy that gave me the job as a limousine driver.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
And he just grew to become like a mentor.
He grew to become a mentor and a great friend. And I would come to him with ideas, and we became partners in several companies. In 2016, I had this crazy vision for Crossroads, and I had never raised money to do anything. I raised millions of dollars, and we launched a very, very aggressive, what a lot of people told me I wasn't going to be able to accomplish, program that's now thriving for 5 years now, and it's helped tens of thousands of people over the years.
And that's Crossroads?
That's Crossroads.
Wow. That's crazy.
So a company called Captain came in and was interested in purchasing or acquiring Presidential Limousine in 2019. A friend of mine at the time had sold me a solar system. I was the CEO at Crossroads, and I was the CEO at Freedom House, but those were more of a passion for me. I didn't want to be involved in the day-to-day operations.
Right.
So I put this solar system on my house, and I knew that Presidential Limousine was going to be acquired by this other company. I was kind of looking for something to do in 2020, and
that's crazy. Yeah, that's a wild time to be like, oh, I'm having to exit. I need to do something.
What's next? I've always kind of had these feelings like I don't even know still what I want to do when I grow up.
Yeah.
I guess I'm in denial about my age.
We got time, bro.
I'm going to be 50 in less than 2 months.
Dude, you got plenty of time.
And I feel like the best years are yet to come for sure.
100%.
So I just, obviously there's a lot mentally to go through.
Right.
A lot of mental barriers, but the exit from the limousine industry is what caused me to spark some interest in the solar industry. And so I put a solar system on my house, started asking questions, and I really thought, wow, this is very intriguing to me because I've been living in Las Vegas my entire life. I didn't know there was another option other than Nevada Power or Nevada Energy, and I didn't know about Question 6, that was a mandate that by 2030, 50% of the power that they sell comes from renewable sources. So I just started to educate myself.
And this was before even getting in going in that direction. You're just like, oh, this is cool. I want to learn.
I was just very intrigued about the business side of solar. I felt like it was in alignment. I felt like I could really get behind teaching people or educating people about this as an option for themselves.
Yeah, I
think a key part in that was in my early 20s when I was exposed, and I actually had my securities licenses and licenses to sell insurance, so I knew some basics about investing in the Rule 62 and compounding interest. So this guy sat down and he showed me a hypothetical. What it would look like if I continued to pay Nevada Energy for my power versus if I invested in my own solar system and I owned my power.
Right.
And the savings on my house over a 20-year period of time was something like $80,000.
Yeah, you're like, this is
a
no-brainer.
This is a no-brainer. why wouldn't I want that 80,000 working for me in my life or for my kids? Why would I want to continue to rent my power from Nevada Energy? So that's what really like got me interested and intrigued in solar as an industry.
Yeah. I mean, solar as an industry is like amazing because it's like you're spending the money anyways. You have to utilize the utility. You're offering a clean, better solution for the world. They're saving money. It's like, I love solar too. I've only been in, I've sold solar, but I'm predominantly the last like 5 years been in the service to the solar industry, but I still love it. Like, you know what I mean? I love the whole concept. Everything is dope about it. So
I do too. It's like I feel like it's a purpose driven
100%.
You know, like I'm not a salesman by some definitions.
Right.
I could consider myself an educator.
Right.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Like I'm not gonna. I would never go sell timeshares.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's not a product I could get behind and feel like I was really doing somebody and their family something good.
Right.
You know, so I was very intrigued with solar. Started exploring like what is the deal? What would a dealer model look like? How does it work? So became a dealer, brought on a couple partners. One of them was an amazing woman who had some sales experience in a different industry. Another guy had a lot of experience in the door-to-door industry because I knew kind of like the different pieces of the pie chart and what it would take to like successfully launch and execute like a plan to grow a company. And then that kind of spiraled into an opportunity to become an owner of an installer a short time later. So within a year of getting into solar, I had become one of the owners of a local electrical contractor that was doing our installs. So I was learning the sales side of it along with my partners and then learning about the install side. So just got a kind of a real rounded,
crash course,
well-rounded like exposure to solar, how it works, and have had more fun than ever in my life.
Doing in this industry?
In this industry. Like one of the things that's so great about I got clean almost 18 years ago. One of the greatest things and greatest joys is it just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
It's going to continue to expand for a while, right? Like
I think solar is, yes.
Yeah,
but even my life, as I started to make better choices with better motivations, like, you know, that helped me to fix a lot of the internal struggles that I had.
Dude, or keep going because I have
like I believe that we're all kind of born with like a moral compass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was a huge period of time in my life where I was doing things that did not serve me, did not serve other people well.
Right.
You know what I mean? I had no core values.
Yeah.
I had no direction.
And so just to piggyback on that, I remember you talking about your disciplines. Like, how important do you think your rituals and your disciplines play into creating these long-term effects?
My daily disciplines?
Yeah.
So if I'm not disciplined enough to have some simple daily disciplines,
you're toast.
I'm toast.
Yeah.
And they're very simple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
It's about holding myself accountable.
To those non-negotiables,
to the non-negotiables. You know, like I feel like there are certain things that I'm not going to accept. You know, there was a period in my time where I got really heavy and I was sick. And I was focused more on work than I was taking care of myself. And so I had to learn the hard way about, I don't even think there's such thing as work-life balance. I think we have a life.
Yeah.
And if I'm neglecting one area of my life, it's going to affect all of the other areas
100%.
of my life, you know? So I had to learn that the hard way.
100%.
You know, so the daily disciplines are like making sure I'm taking care of myself, so that I can show up as the best version of me,
100%,
for the people that I'm leading.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
today, go ahead.
Sorry. Like today, I'm leading leaders who are leading teams, who are leading, you know, departments, who are leading people. So I have to be able to show up.
You got to be your top version of yourself every day. You got to be your highest self, and sticking to those daily disciplines is kind of what gets you there, right? Like for me, I I probably have like a fraction of the people that depend on me, but I feel like if I don't have to like if I don't fill my cup, it seems like every conversation's harder that day. Like everything is just harder if you don't, go to the gym, do your reading, do my rituals, my meditation, stuff like that. Praying, whatever people, choose
whatever they are, for me it starts with the prayer and meditation. For me it starts with when I open my eyes in the morning, I literally get myself in a frame of mind of gratitude. I need to, you know what I mean? Because sometimes there's so much going on and like it's easy to wake up and be paralyzed by some fear.
Right.
But if I give my energy to the gratitude before I give it to any of the fears of what's coming in that day, it's easier for me to navigate my day. So my 100%. Daily disciplines are like to take care of my mental health and then my physical health, my spiritual well-being, whatever that looks like for you. You know what I mean? And then I know like the most important thing I do is I've got to be a man of my word.
100%.
I know if I'm not keeping my word to myself. If I can't keep my word to myself.
That's the most important.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of versions out there of like how many days it takes to develop a habit and all that. But like I know if I'm keeping my word to myself or not.
Because you can't cheat that to anybody. Like, you know what I mean? You're the only one that knows, like, if you held your word to yourself.
You know what I mean?
And that's where, that's
and if I wake up and I can keep my word to myself, my day is much smoother.
100%, dude. By a long shot.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, my little things are like waking up at 5 and hitting the gym and do my journaling. Sometimes I don't wake up at 5 and then I go to the gym in the afternoon or whatever. But I notice those days are like more like turbulent. There's like, you got to calm yourself down more in the middle of the day, like deal with pressures differently. So, and no one like cares about that except for me. Like, it's like you didn't wake up at 5 because you're like, God, I'm just going to snooze today. And I like feel like I take that as like a L on the day. And I'm like, damn it, we'll try again tomorrow.
And that's the thing. We got to give ourselves some grace and we've got to give ourselves some flexibility and room to fail because we got to fail forward, right? But like those pains that I cause myself, I'm not willing to accept.
Right.
So it's easier for me to keep my word and do my daily disciplines than it is to like oversleep or allow my character defects to overrule my thoughts for a period of time, and then later in the day like I'm feeling sorry for myself and then like I'm like, dang, I'm feeling like a loser. Like I don't have time for any shitty thoughts.
Not at all, dude.
I don't got time for any shitty thoughts. And so I've realized and learned through failing forward and failing on my face and through a lot of pain that it's just easier to do what I need to do.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I have certain ways, like certain things that I will never do for that same exact like drinking alcohol. Like I don't drink alcohol because just waking up terrible the next day, it's like it's so not worth it that it's not even a consideration for me. Like, I just don't drink it. Like, you know what I mean?
I love the fact that there's so many it's kind of becoming trendy, and there's a lot of people that are in influential positions who are like promoting the idea that like alcohol is not serving you well
at all. Like there's no reason for it. Someone asked me like, why don't you drink? Like we were at some event and I was like, there's no benefit. Like, what do you mean? There's no benefit. You know what I mean? But why would you do something that has no benefit?
So, and to each his own, right? I do know people that can have like just a glass of wine or a drink here or there and like unwind, but like it just doesn't serve me well. Yeah. So I don't do it.
100%. Well,
there's a lot of things that don't serve me that I don't do.
100%.
So
let's pivot a little bit. I know, entrepreneurship, like what we talked about, is like, it's not all sunshines and rainbows. It's actually like, I love the analogy that you said to like, you live in a pressure cooker sometimes and you just feel like you're under pressure, including myself. And I'm sure there's millions of other business owners that can relate to that situation. What do you think in your experience helps alleviate that? Like, what do you do to like kind of not relieve yourself, but just know that you're navigating everything properly so that the pressure doesn't like implode you?
Well, the ability to handle stress has everything to do with success. And it really, really, for me, boils down to staying in the solution. Because I feel like there are a lot of people who, and I see this a lot, there are a lot of people who like to focus on the problem.
Right.
more so than the solution. And I don't always have the solution, but I can collectively with my people come up with the solution.
Like what the best thing.
There's no challenge that we can't overcome. And my style of leadership is you can present a challenge to me, but you're gonna present it and we're gonna focus on the solution.
Right.
we're not gonna dwell on what the challenge is for very long.
100%.
We're gonna stay focused on the solution. Because the more time I spend dwelling on what it is the challenge is,
not
but
useful.
there are a lot of people who thrive on that.
I don't know.
There's a lot of people who, rather than getting in immediately into the solution to solve a challenge, feel more comfortable
just relishing in
like
the pity
the
party.
challenge, you know what I mean?
Well, dude,
it's like a fruit or a tree. Like you could a seed, you feed it.
Yeah,
you know
I think there's a level of like adversity, like a seed, that like you have to feel that challenge and that pressure. And just like a seed, like that pressure sprouts like a solution. Like something beautiful comes from adversity. Yeah. But you can't live there too long. Like just like as minimal as you need to create that pressure explosion. Like this is it. It's going to change because I'm sick and tired.
Absolutely. I need to understand what the challenge is and then formulate a plan of action for the solution.
Right. 100%. You know what I mean? So I think that it's necessary, but I have a couple guys, again, not as many like, leaders or whatever that work with me, but when they come up with it and they start getting along that track, I'm like, dude, don't even come with me unless you think you have a solution. So like, tell me the problem, but also immediately tell me what you think would be the best.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, and then we'll figure it out from there. Like, don't just like keep going on and on about the problem. Like, that's not going to help anybody.
Absolutely. If I have somebody that comes to me with a problem and they just want to like chit chat about the problem, I'm not about it.
What are we going to do, bro? What's the move?
Solution?
Yeah.
That is typically the first thing I say.
Neural
What's
pathways.
the solution?
Yeah. 100%.
You know what I mean? Do you have have you come up with a solution, or are we coming up with a solution together?
Right.
Because I'm not going to sit in the problem.
Right.
The focus is not the challenge.
100%.
I mean, it like our mindset has everything to do with that. And there's a lot of people with just, I feel like their personality,
right,
and a lot of their life experiences and a lot of the way they're trained to think, they just want to stay.
Yeah, and you have to break that. I mean, you got to break that thought pattern with the disciplines. The only way to do it is those little disciplines, like that little meditation, that little exercise.
Is like I refuse
to not.
I refuse. I don't deal with drama and toxicity well. You know what I mean?
It's terrible.
One of the things I've had to learn over the years is like to give somebody experiencing a challenge enough grace and an opportunity to change. But also I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make in business sometimes are not being comfortable with letting people off the bus when it's time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always try to see the good in people.
So what's your like metric to like to like justify how long you give someone grace for? Before it's like you're like, this is cancer, I gotta cut it. Because I mean I have that same problems in my organization. Again, it's probably not at scale, but
we all do.
Like
we all do.
What's your, I guess, like, how do you gauge that?
My level of tolerance probably be. There are a lot of people who make a lot of decisions or behave in certain ways that they're really not aware of. So if you bring it to their attention and give them an opportunity to correct it, and they're open to the idea and receptive to the constructive criticism, that's an indicator that there's hope.
And if it's just 0%, like zero accountability, zero self-awareness, zero anything. So I just fired an editor for that. They were clocked in, right? And I'm like looking at their times or whatever, because I gave them a project. It was simple. Like in my head, it should have been done in a day. It's like 3 days later, I'm like looking at it. It says like it's like 16, 20 something hours. I'm like, what the heck? And so I go look at it, and she's just leaving the computer on, and it's like for like 8 hours, it's like running on the clock, right? So I'm like, yo, like, what's going on here? Is there something? Did I miss it or whatever? She comes back like totally defensive, like, oh, your computer must be broken, like, da-da-da, so, like, it's my fault, right? I'm like, okay, no problem, but this project is small. It should have only, like, I would have took me a few hours, like 4 hours maybe, if I would have done it myself. She's like, well, okay, never mind, just subtract my pay. But she had such a, like, ego and defensiveness to defend her lie that I was like, it's already, like, it irritated me, created bad vibes, and I didn't want to deal with it anymore. I'm like, you lied to me, you stole from me, and, like, then you wanted to defend it, and now I have a feeling towards you that's not of love, so I can't sustain it anymore. So I had to let her go, but...
and that's a difficult place to get to where you're comfortable letting people off the bus.
Bro,
because there's not a situation, there's not a person...
Dude.
You know, I hate it when people talk about loyalty as being a core value.
Yeah, yeah, you talked about that a lot.
I think we did talk about that. Like,
but maybe they didn't hear it, so like...
I have to be loyal to what's right for me and my family.
Right.
You know what I mean? I have to be loyal to what's right for my organization.
Right.
There's not a single person outside of me and my organization that like I feel like I need to be loyal to. So it gets easier to let people off the bus when you can see where their intentions are intentional, like misleading and toxic. Like I don't have a lot have a lot of patience or tolerance for toxicity.
Yeah, and that's a skill that I'm developing myself, because last year, dude, I hung on to, like, payroll for way too long. Like, I was doing my taxes. I'm doing them right now, right? And, like, just the numbers, like, it was, like, 480 gross, which, again, is nothing crazy. But the profit was $6,000. I was like, that's fucking terrible. Like, you know what I mean? That's so bad. And then I'm, like, going through everything. I'm like, dude, I kept payroll way too high, way too long, and just, like, because I felt bad about their situation. Where now, like, in this revamp, I'm like, I can't. Like, if the second I feel like it's not love and it's not moving towards that, like, shared vision, then I have to, like, for the sake of my family, like, put everything, just stop it. It's like it has to, or it'll keep bleeding, and who's going to take the L? Like, it's just me, like, you know? And
the other side of that is we're not doing anybody any favors by allowing them to continue with bad behaviors. Right. You know what I mean? It became easier for me to, like, make some of those cuts when I realized, like, if they think their behavior is good, I'm doing them and me a disservice.
Yeah.
So typically, like, there's you know, depending on the circumstances, everyone gets an opportunity to correct their behavior.
Yeah.
Change their ways. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But, like, there's no more. I feel like a lot of people, especially in the solar industry, hang on to people that they know are toxic or are not good for their organization out of fear.
I was just going to say that. I think it's out of fear because, like, they fear, like, maybe those, like, that volume that person would contribute is going to, like, they're going to lose out on it. But really, if you clean up, like, the environment, the culture, the health of the organization, you will attract higher producers.
Absolutely.
Like, you know what I mean? Just because it's an attractive place to be.
Absolutely. And if people know that you're willing to put up with certain behaviors just because somebody's a high producer, that's not respectable.
Yeah, then you're just like, yeah, 100%.
I feel like to be a good leader, you need to really have the buy-in and the respect of the people you're leading.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you lead with fear and with intimidation, or if you display signs of hypocrisy, if you're up there preaching one thing, but people see your feet doing another, like, those are things that are not good.
Right.
For any organization.
100%. Well, dude, let's pivot a little bit. So I kind of want to talk to you, share a little bit about my story. My dad was, same thing, dude. He's a good dude. I love him at heart. He's got a good heart. But he just, like, you know, was drinking every day, partying when it's fun, whatever. And then, at least my whole life, right? Like, he's drinking a whole bottle of tequila every single day, drug user, you know, probably started off with one thing, ended up with another thing. And he's just, like, lived that life out. And I've seen all the side effects of that from, like, a child experienced in that life. Like, you know, so seen a lot of things, like, that doesn't make, I'm sure there's millions of people that go through that stuff. But I saw the other side of it. And, he did a lot of bad things to me and was cool. Like, I totally forgive him. I love him. And he just 5 or 6 years ago, the doctor told him, like, if you don't stop, your substance, the alcohol, whatever, you're gonna like die, bro. You're like, they brought the priest in, like, to at the hospital. I'm like, whatever, right? Tripping about it. 5 years later, 6 years later now, dude, he's still going at it, right? Like, just riding it till the wheels fall off. Like, and I still, like, I love him. He just had a heart attack recently, and it scared me to death. But it's still, like, he's still just down that path. And so, from my perspective, like, I have very little, like, sympathy or, like, hope for the hopeless, because I've been, used and abused by that so long, my whole life. So I just, like, when I see it, I'm just like zero tolerance for it. So I think it's so interesting that you created such a like safe haven for the hopeless. Like, you're actually taking the hopeless and like reintegrate them as like productive members of society. So like, that's so honorable, and yet like, it's so, for me, it's also like so perplexing to like how you found like such like deep love to like, I don't know, to like create that opportunity for somebody, like, like, I don't know if I even worded that as a question, but I kind of just want to hear
Of course. So you're talking about seeing the challenge through different lenses.
Right.
Okay? You're seeing it through the lens of somebody that was on the receiving end
Right.
of the behaviors of somebody that you should have looked up to and admired, and somebody that would have been a mentor and a role model to you. I look at it through the lens of somebody who lived it and overcame it.
Yeah. I see.
And as a result of my perspective, I know that there's a lot of people out there that feel hopeless, that if given the opportunity, can turn their life around. And I could tell you with certainty that I have dozens and dozens and dozens of people in my life who, as a result of going through, some of them the programs that I've developed, some are other programs, but some of those people who, when they make the decision to turn their life around and start to buy into the belief that they deserve a better life, because I think that's a big part of it. I think a lot of people stay in self-destructive mode because there's something in
they're
their
not
mind
worthy
telling
of it.
them that like they're not worthy of anything better. Why else would somebody just continue to self-destruct?
Right.
Self-love, I feel like, is the most important love that there is.
Right.
If I can love myself properly, then I have the ability to love others.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need to get to a point where I can love myself unconditionally.
Right.
That means accepting the fact that I'm human, I'm going to make mistakes, but also being very aware of how my actions affect other people's lives and things like that. Like the life of a drug addict, who eventually becomes a drug addict that's living a life of crime.
Right.
It's very reckless. It's very destructive.
Right.
And there's a whole process to unwinding and changing that mindset, right?
Right.
That's why the programs I've built over the years are not like 28-day treatment centers. They're like 6-month-long programs with a continuum that walk people through the various stages. Because it really is, when you take somebody that's a homeless drug addict off the street, there's a lot.
It's a whole process, right?
There's sometimes people refer to it as peeling the skins of the onion back. Like there's a lot to unwind. There's a lot to unpack. But I've just chosen to see the good in everyone. Right. I believe everyone deserves, we all have a different story. I didn't like, you just told me about, how what your relationship was like with your dad. Like, I grew up with a dad that was a disciplinarian. I couldn't really talk to him about much, but I knew that he loved me and he wanted the best for me.
Right.
I still went in self-destruct mode. You grew up with a dad that was in self-destruct mode. Right. And look how you turned out. So
I'm doing all right.
You're bro. Celebrate your wins.
Yeah,
bro.
no, you're right.
You're
right.
We've got it. You got to celebrate your wins.
100%.
I admire, you put out a lot of content that
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's some good stuff.
Yeah.
And anything that we can do to positively impact other people's lives. So like
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing things to positively impact other people's lives, just
Right.
like you are.
Yeah.
We're just attacking a different challenge, right?
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know what I mean? So mine has evolved through the years. I'm not as boots on the ground, day-to-day operation, working with the homeless. I do go out with the Shine a Light
Right.
Foundation, which is the organization we created to do outreach specifically to the people in the tunnels. Those are like,
that's like the trenches.
that's like the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
When you've allowed yourself to accept living in a storm drain
Yeah.
and the lifestyle and everything that comes along with that,
Yeah.
you're not in a great spot.
Right.
Physically, mentally, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's just like my life story led me to that.
And that it's like so much good karma like in the universe that you've probably like acquired. Like that's something that no one else is doing, right? Like I mean, I'm not familiar with that market, but I imagine can't be like that many people in that space that feel as passionate as you do about helping those people, cuz like I just shared that's not something that I would be passionate about,
Sure.
but like for you to do that is like it's so crazy because every person has a level of like self-value, self-love. Like the fact that they're even alive is a miracle,
Right.
So it's like people lose track of that or lose touch with that and that spirituality.
So what I found in the solar industry, which was cool, and this kind of started for me in the limousine industry, like, wow, all of a sudden I was given the opportunity to provide opportunity for others. At the time, before the NTA stepped in and started regulating who could and who could not be hired as drivers and doing background checks, I would hire guys on that were second chancers. And a lot of those guys became my best, most loyal, most productive employees ever. And so when I got into the solar business, it's not that I like hire just anybody,
Right.
but there are a lot of people in my same shoes or in my same situation who have made a lot of mistakes that may have a label that deserve an opportunity. So the solar industry allowed me to create opportunities for a lot of guys to make life-changing money.
Yeah.
And overcome like what do you call it? I wouldn't call it conventional wisdom because it's not wisdom. But the idea that because of the choices they made, their opportunities are limited. I find so a lot of you hear people talk about their why and their burn and things like that. But like my why, aside from being a good father, has really been leading people down a path who've made bad choices into a better lifestyle.
That's powerful.
Helping them take accountability for their past, being the guy that helps inspire them to forgive themselves and to believe that there's a better future out there.
Yeah.
This idea that you've got to go to high school and get a diploma and go on to college and get a degree to be of value to our society is not something I've bought into.
It's outdated now.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
I mean, you got these guys on social media, YouTubers, whatever, youngsters making life-changing money, right?
Opening toys.
So if I
literally,
literally. So I know one of my kids is like on YouTube all day. I'm like, you've got to find a way to monetize that.
Yeah.
You got to be the one creating.
Opening the toys, dude.
You know what I mean?
Open some toys.
We travel a lot, so I'm like, I should get my 12-year-old a YouTube channel and have him critiquing hotels and restaurants.
That would be so funny from a 12-year-old perspective.
Because he's got a lot of opinions. I'm like that. So that's like the kind of creativity that I feel like people have that need to be fed.
100%, dude. Especially nowadays with the resources that are available, you can make a living doing anything.
Almost anything.
Literally anything. So it's amazing that you can cultivate that, especially for your kids. I'm a rookie dad. Like my daughter's 2, so like we're
the best. Oh man.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure it out. But I don't know. Like when she gets to the age where she wants to do things and explore her creativity, like.
Sure.
How to help that and feed that and be supportive of it.
Yeah, I remember being a teen and expressing some interest in things that weren't sports related, and I just got shot down
You're like, nope.
on everything. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's wild.
no, that like, the way I grew up, you know, you're supposed to go to high school, you're supposed to go on a mission for the church, and then you're supposed to come back and go to college. And like, if you veered outside of that plan, like you were kind of like labeled as a loser or a black sheep.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm happy and proud to say I'm the black sheep of the family.
Yeah. But it served your purpose.
But
like,
I've managed to turn that into something that's productive not only for me but for other people
and helping people. That
so like my burn, you know, my burn is really creating opportunities for others.
That's awesome.
And helping them overcome the mental barriers to believing that A, they're worthy or capable,
right?
Or B, that it's even possible.
That's awesome, dude. That's huge. That's
you have
huge.
to believe it first.
And you have to, and you had to go through what you went through in order to have this purpose. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, you can't just credit any of the journey, dude. It's part of the purpose. So, but that changing your belief, your identity, I think that's massive. Yeah. You know, at every stage, at every level, like, you have to reinvent yourself, recreate yourself, create a new identity that will take you to that next level, you know?
And it's okay to continue to do that.
Yeah, forever, right?
What I've learned over the reason I tell people I still am trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up is my interests and motives and you know, things I'm
passionate about, right?
It constantly, like, it changes, and that's okay. I feel like people have to be so set, and their identities are so set in one thing. Yeah. That, like, it holds them back sometimes.
Well, and that's when people go through crisis and, like, things shatter. It's because they can't keep their, like, identity together. It's just, like, fading away, and then all of a sudden you're just, like, lost in the abyss. You got to reinvent yourself.
Like if your identity is so wrapped up in one thing and that one thing falls apart, like, are you falling apart as a human?
Yeah, exactly.
Or you know what I mean? Are you going to pivot? Like, I have the ability to pivot really quickly.
Dude, I'm an optimist. I know. I always believe, like, if I wanted to be an astronaut, I could be an astronaut. It's just whatever I'm stoked about, I just do that, and then it usually works.
I always wanted to be an attorney.
Really?
And it's funny, I was having lunch with a good friend of mine who's one of the Supreme Court justices for the state.
Sick.
And she was like, we were having this conversation. She's like, why don't you go back to law school? And I was like, I thought about it. I'm like, wow, I'd have to start from scratch. And she's like, by the time you're 60, you could be a lawyer. Like, what's so wrong?
What's the big deal?
I mean? Like, so even though I've overcome so much, and, like, you know, I really don't know if I would want to be a practicing attorney, but law is something that interests me.
Yeah.
Mostly because I've been entangled in so many legal situations over the years that, like, just that experience or knowledge would be helpful. But, like, I am free to change my mind and do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it.
100%. Well, dude, just going on laws, like, back to that's kind of crazy because laws are man-made, and, like, everything, like, who's to justify that, like, going 65 miles an hour is the appropriate right speed to go versus, like, 85 miles an hour, right? It's like man-made constraints that are made. But if you become successful enough and powerful enough by doing good in community, in the society, you could begin to influence what you believe is right.
Sure,
to a certain extent.
I already have.
So there you go.
That's why we have lawmakers.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
100%.
We have law, and I didn't really understand how the political system worked for a while until I got into business, and then you understand it more. But, like, you know, lawmakers make the law.
Right.
It's really important that we elect lawmakers.
Right.
You know what I mean? That we believe are in alignment with
the right
values.
thing. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I see so many people in holding different offices that really have no business being there.
Right.
And that's the ignorance of the system.
Right.
You know, and people really not understanding.
And common people, don't, like, even think about it.
How impactful it is who we put in those positions, you know, until we get into a situation like we did a few years ago where a lot of our rights were stripped.
Right.
And I'm not going to get into what my opinion was about any of that, but, like, literally our rights were stripped away from us
100%.
Overnight, and people felt that, and I feel like that was a wake-up call for a lot of people to at least begin to like try to think for themselves. You
Right.
know what I mean?
I mean, it kind of did shift like the paradigm a bit. Like, you know, things are different now. Like, even like at home workers, like that's like a whole division of people now that like
Yeah.
wouldn't have existed.
That's like society. Like, you know, we can reinvent ourselves.
Right.
Our community. I mean, how long have you been in Vegas?
Dude, my parents moved me here when I was 32 and I'm 33, so 31 years.
So you've seen this town reinvent itself over and over and over.
Dude,
and over.
it blows my mind still. Like, this is crazy.
We're constantly reinventing ourselves. You know, everything is constant. It's constantly being kind of reinvented.
Right.
Unless you go to like some small town.
Right, everyone's the same.
In maybe Utah that nobody's moved to for 50 years
Right.
and everything's the same. But like,
Right.
I want to be a part of that. I want to be
change.
a part of creating and reinventing and like, you know, new ideas.
100%, dude. I mean, I'm still young and seeing the things evolve, and I'm just playing in the
You're
game,
33?
dude. Yeah.
Great.
I'm
great
trying
years.
to.
I was a year younger than you when I got sober.
No way. And that was your like starting from scratch moment, basically. Well, not really, because you had all that experience counts.
Well, like the experiences counted, but financially, I had nothing.
Yeah.
I like literally, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Like when I got clean, I got out of jail. I sobered up in jail. When I got out, I had nothing, and I'd burned every bridge with my family, and I had to get a food stamp card, and I had to go down to the county and get a voucher for them to pay my rent for a month. I literally started from scratch.
Yeah.
The greatest blessing in my life was that.
So, okay, I have a question. So, you have a very like elevated perception on business, even from when you started from scratch. You're like started from scratch, you got the limousine job, and then all of a sudden you're like the operational manager. Like you have like a vision of like the whole system. It seems like you could see the system. And so where does that stem from? Because I feel like I'm barely starting to view organizations like that and businesses like that, and I've been trying to do business like the last 10 years. So it seems like you just got that like off the jump. Like how'd you develop that
So
skill?
we can buy into a lot of ideas. And I was very blessed in my early recovery to have a mentor or a sponsor that had experienced some levels of success that were attractive to me. And so I really started to study and read some books about mindset and about, you know, if you can see it, you can achieve it. And like I just started buying into that, and I created massive goals like Freedom House, Crossroads.
Those are big things.
Those are enormous projects for a guy in his early 30s with no resources, no experience to kind of take on.
Right.
But I thrived on that. And I thrive on people telling me I can't do something. That motivates me. I love to prove people wrong. When I started the Freedom House, I met with the sheriff, I met with county commissioners, I met with leaders at Metro who all told me I was crazy.
You just needed their support to be involved in it? Or
I
like...
wanted them to know about it. It was like I was taking, because it's in a residential neighborhood, I took 2 apartment buildings and turned them into licensed health facilities in the Twain and Paradise area, which was already riddled with crime. And, you know, so it was educating them. Like I had just gone through this process.
Right.
So it was really about educating them. They thought I was going to bring more problems to the area. And I had to share my personal story and my vision. And I had to eventually convince them that like I wasn't bringing more problems to the area, that I was bringing a solution to the area. And I did get their blessing. And I proved them all wrong.
That's crazy. Yeah,
that organization has been in existence now and serving the community for 14 years.
Wow.
And I could count maybe twice that the police had to come to deal with some type of a situation there. And I think in their minds, they thought they were going to be there every day.
They're like, bro, you're just having a whole other shift.
You know what I mean? So I feel like in Las Vegas, I was at that time helpful in creating a movement that believed that reducing the stigma around substance use and mental health was necessary and important. And I was a part of a lot of conversations about changing how we deal with people in the criminal justice system and giving people opportunities for treatment and services to improve their lives rather than just like locking them up and discarding them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So yeah, once they're out.
I feel like I took it really seriously, and I feel like it was a big honor to kind of like be at the table for a lot of those conversations. And in the beginning, not a lot of people gave me a lot of credibility.
Right.
There's a lot of people that didn't believe in me. There was a lot of people that I think were naysayers that kind of like had hoped that I would fail.
You always get those guys.
And I didn't.
Yeah.
And that was like, so it's little successes built on little successes that eventually give you more and more confidence to dream bigger and bigger and bigger, to accomplish more and more. Because, I'll give you an example. There's a lot of people that will get sober and they're like, dang, I would really like to open a sober living house.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that operate sober living houses are sober and like they want to be of service. Like right. I was like, I want to open a sober living community with 100 beds. So like it was just like I had a bigger vision, a bigger dream. Even if I only accomplished half of that, right? It was accomplishing something big. So like I love to talk to people. I use the term PIG, personal income goal, a lot with my guys. Like, put some thought into like what kind of life do you... I don't think people spend enough time thinking about what they want in their life.
That's true.
What do you want? Do you want a private jet?
Yeah.
Do you want to buy a private island?
It's not clear enough, right? Like
people don't spend enough time thinking about what they want. And if they don't spend time thinking about what they want,
how are they going to get it?
They're never going to get it. This is why we have so many people stuck in a system where they believe like life should be investing 30 years into a system and then drawing a pension. Yeah. And living, you know what I mean? Yeah. Whatever. And that's fine. I'm not downing that at all. Yeah. But I'm just saying there's
more if you want it.
More, and there is much bigger possibilities for people that are willing to go out there and take the risks and do it.
100%.
So I just, and I didn't, most of this I didn't come up with on my own. I had people in my ear telling me.
Like you could do this.
You're thinking too small, Jeff.
Dude, you know what?
You're thinking too small.
That's a blessing to have those people, because there's only one person that I consider a mentor. He owns this building that tells me that. And then it really stretches you, And I fortunately have had the opportunity where I've recruited some guys that are working with our organization now, and they shared their vision. And I'm like, dude, you're thinking way too small. And it didn't click for me until I was that person for them. And I was like, whoa. There's so much more out there, right? Like it stretches you to think way bigger.
When I first got into solar, and I had a business partner that her slogan was, she wanted to help rewire the world.
I remember her.
And I think people think that that's crazy, but you got to be a certain amount of crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. To really
in a good way, to get shit done.
I agree.
If you look at a lot of this really successful, the way money shifts and moves, if you look at the wealthiest people on the planet today, 12 years ago, a lot of them were, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people did not buy into their vision.
Right.
Elon Musk is...
Bro, it's crazy.
It's an extraordinary story.
Think about that. He's like, I'm going to buy electric cars, or I'm going to make electric cars. There's no infrastructure to charge anything. He made the most popular car. Then he built all the infrastructure around the United, like,
And everything else he's doing. Like,
such a crazy feat. Well, yeah, it was SpaceX and all
if
that.
I told you I wanted to start a company and build spaceships or rockets that can go up and come back and land, you know what I mean? Like, but everyone thinks, it's like the people that are the most successful people think are crazy.
Yeah.
And not everyone is going to reach that level of success,
Right.
but the seeds have got to be planted somewhere, somehow, to start thinking bigger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that's where a lot of people are held back, is they're not challenged to think bigger and dream bigger for themselves.
So, for me, it's uncomfortable when my like mentor tells me to think bigger. Like, it really makes me like, one, it's like an identity like shift. Like, okay, well, how can I think bigger? Like, and you try to expand it. Like, do you have any like maybe advice on like how you, when someone tells you to think bigger, like how you approach that like thought?
Well, my approach is always domination.
Dominate that market.
I want to dominate the market.
Mm.
And I'm going to tell you, as successful as I've been over the last few years, there's been a lot of failures.
Mm.
I'm not going to sit in here and tell you,
mark my mark,
that my experience with Bell and my experience over the last 4 years in the solar industry has been a complete roller coaster ride.
Right.
But it's brought me to where I'm at today, and it's helped me craft a vision for the next chapter in the solar industry.
Which I want to talk to you about that vision, because I got a vision with the same organization that I think is going to be big.
You know what I mean? But sometimes aligning ourselves with something bigger and more powerful isn't a bad thing.
No, I don't think so. I
You
mean,
know what I mean?
it actually helps like gain momentum, because if you're rolling with someone that's already rolling, like, you're gonna get that momentum with you, like,
There's people that want the credit of doing it all on their own, and
Yeah.
like so my vision right now for my organization in the solar business has evolved and it's changed. You know what I mean? Last year I wanted to be the best electrical contractor in the state, doing the most quality installs.
Right.
I figured out that that's really not where
It's really not what you want to do.
It's really not where my passion lies.
Yeah.
My passion is in creating opportunity for people.
Mm.
When I aligned myself with this company, it paved the way. It gave me a vehicle to achieve a bigger vision quicker and create more opportunity for more people, because they had already built out the infrastructure that would make it easier for me. So
100%.
Another lesson that I've learned over the years is, like, I don't need to take credit for everything.
Oh, that's a huge one.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. 48.
I don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
In some of my programs, I know people that start programs and they want to do everything. They're control freaks.
Yeah.
For example, like, some people start a program and, like, they want to do the treatment and they want to do the job training and they want to be in control of this and the case management and all that. Like, what I've learned over the years is I want to collaborate with people who are the best at what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I want to stay best at what I do.
Right.
And so the recent decision to move over and join this organization had everything to do with, it was the right strategic move for the guys that have worked so hard alongside of me in this industry.
Right.
And it creates the best path for them to grow and achieve their goals too.
100%.
So that's fine, and that's fine with me.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, dude, I love it. Well, what if you had to, just in a nutshell, the most valuable lesson you've ever learned in your whole life, what would you say it would be?
The only way to fail is to quit.
That's a good one.
Most people that I see fail, whether it's in their recovery journey or in business, they quit just a little bit too soon.
Just keep on going.
You just keep going, man.
Just keep going.
And that's where the threshold for high levels of stress and a tolerance for pain and not getting my way and all those things, like, I have to be able to weather those storms.
Right.
Because a lot of people they give up. They give up too quick.
Yeah.
You know,
You
they
gotta
give up
endure.
right before the miracle happens, and it's really sad to see.
Well, and you gotta expect the miracle too. Like, you know, if you don't expect the miracle, then
You
how
got to
can it reach you?
manifest it. You got to really believe it. There's a lot of people out there that they talk a lot. You know, a lot of really cool, fun, eloquent stuff comes out of their mouth, but you could tell they don't even believe what they're saying.
Right.
You know, this idea that we fake it till we make it.
Mm,
I get it when people say that. I
right.
understand like the concept about that, but really you don't give up till you make it.
That's a better saying.
We don't give up
until we make it.
until we make it. You know,
I
and
love
if
it.
I fail, it's not because I didn't give it my all.
100%.
You know what I mean? And if I have the mindset that I'm going to use every failure as a building block for my next success,
Yeah.
I'm just better off that way.
Yeah. I mean, I think you just keep growing and growing and growing and growing. Like, you can never stop growing and recreating yourself. I mean, at least that's my approach to things. I like read a ton and I'm trying to just do my best. And it's crazy because when you're doing your best and then you do experience a failure, you don't realize it's a failure until after you go back and you review. You're like, well, that didn't work.
But it probably made you better somehow.
Oh, yeah. It
You know what I
has to. Yeah, you have to take...
And that's the other. People sit in their failure. They sit, they sulk. You know what I mean?
Dude,
They want to feel sorry for themselves. They want to play the victim. They want to blame everyone else.
Yeah.
You know, rather than just like, I just want to take ownership of my own life. I know that the life I live today is a result of my choices.
100%.
Now there are exceptions to that rule. Like if I leave here and I get hit by a drunk driver,
Right.
and I physically screwed up for the rest of my life, like that wasn't something that I'm gonna take responsibility for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got to be able to sort that out.
Well,
but if I made a bad decision in business, I can either choose to learn from that.
Yeah.
Or I can blame somebody else.
Yeah.
And I can play the victim. You know, or I can take ownership of it and learn from it and become better for it.
100%.
No.
No, I agree, dude. Well,
I made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Still do.
Dude, I've had 2 epic failures where I've had to reset my life. One, I went to jail. I was like selling weed. They got me. And then the second one is I went bankrupt with the mechanic shop. My dad was like the fulfillment, and I told you his story, so it just fell apart after a while. But yeah,
went
both
to jail
those.
for selling weed.
Yeah. It was at scale. I was doing like £1 a day. I had drivers and a delivery service. Not to like, that's not the right thing to do, but
No, I lived that life.
Yeah.
I was just manufacturing meth.
So yeah, my studio got raided and I went to jail. I got locked up. It was short. It was like 27 days, but they were trying to like press like manufacturing and like distribution charges and like hoping I'd tell on someone. And then they were like, all right. Then they let me out, but that was like the most terrible experience of my life. After that, dude, I'm like the most legit person. Like my taxes are on time. I'm legit in every aspect, bro. Like,
but it takes what it takes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it takes some of those experiences in life to figure out what we don't want.
Yeah, 100%.
Figuring out what we don't want is almost as important as figuring out what we do want.
Yeah. To like heavier stuff, like distributing heavier stuff, it could have been like even worse. Like I could have died or something, So like, yeah, it worked out, but it was a hard reset, and then I went all in with Pathfinder. But yeah, dude, you gotta go through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, dude, it's been over an hour almost.
Has it been over an hour?
Yeah. So where can the people find you, bro? Drops his phone number.
I'm always available, like literally, Jeff Iverson on Instagram.
There you go.
Jeff Iverson on Facebook. My phone number's on my Facebook account. I'm always the guy that will take a call. Like if there's something that I can do to help other people, I absolutely will.
Let's go.
Jeff Iverson on Instagram. Like, I'm a family guy. I'm a business guy. I'm not trying to be anything that I'm not. I want to help. I want to help people. And I want to learn from my mistakes. And if there's any, whether it's in business or if somebody's struggling with addiction or, there's a variety of things that I like to be of service to my community for. Like, I'm always available.
Love it, bro. And thank you so much for coming by, bro. I know it was out of the way.
I love your content, and I love that you just got transparent with me about things. I think, like, just that little nugget about, some of the struggles you've had. Because, like, it's easy to look at somebody creating content online and think, oh, they got a perfect life, everything lined up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're so lucky, this and that. But they don't see the behind the scenes.
Bro,
I'd rather talk more about, like, when I'm talking, and I know we got to cut this off.
No, I mean,
I would much rather talk to people about their struggles 100%. And how to get through their struggles
100%.
And help them cast a vision for their future than brag about what I've done.
100%, dude. I mean, I
get asked to speak a lot at a lot of places. And I'm not about, like, I don't enjoy standing in front of a crowd of people bragging about things I've accomplished.
Right.
I would much rather sit down with somebody and have a conversation about what they're struggling with.
Right.
And how I can help them get through it.
Right.
And help them to believe that it's possible.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's
my
what
get down.
I think that's what this whole, like, podcast is about, dude, because
that's
it's
my
not.
Get down.
It's not all perfect. And it, like, everyone has gone through crazy, like, emotional, treacherous things that has created the success, and nobody even knows about it because everyone wants to talk about, like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah, if you go
billion.
If you go to my Instagram page, you will see, a before and after photo. It's my booking photo from 2006, and then what I looked like last year.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm okay posting that because I want people to know, like there's no facade here.
Yeah.
I live the life I live today, but, like, my past is also my past. I don't stay stuck there.
Right.
But there's always a way out of whatever struggle somebody is dealing with. And sometimes it just takes somebody else to believe in you and help you to sort out what that looks like.
Right.
To understand it.
Yeah, dude. 100%. For me, that was, like, my wife, dude. I wasn't until I got my wife, like, that we, like, really, like, scaled anything. I was just, like, finessing everybody. I felt like, like, oh, cool, I could sell videos. Perfect. And she's like, we got to get organized. And then all of a sudden it, like, turned into something real.
Doing it, and you're doing it with good intention.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
I love it.
So, well, dude, again, thank you so much for coming by. Appreciate you. This was great, bro.
Yeah.
Peace.